If you guys need any cards, packs, sleeves, anything of that nature, shop on TCG Player using my affiliate link in the description. What's good, YouTube? So it turns out there was a huge IRL Edison tournament going on this weekend that I didn't even know about because it's happening on like the same day as the EdisonFormat.com one. But yeah, I was at the E&T Collectables store. There was like over $1,000 in cash prizes, pretty big turnout. So the organizer of the event reached out to me with the lists, and I'm definitely glad to be going over them here today on the channel. First off, we have in first place a Vayu Turbo list. Been seeing this deck a lot in Top Cuts recently. I don't know, is it some kind of like meta call? Is it a good matchup for Hero Beat maybe? I'm not exactly sure, but Vayu Turbo's been killing it lately. This build is on the Sork, which most builds lately have not been on the Sork. I do like being on one hamster, one charge. I definitely support that ratio, and man, Vayu Turbo lists really do just all look the same at this point. They're like within 5 cards of each other. I mean, double Arma, double Greffer, Dad, 3 of that, 3 Vayu, 3 Sirocco, and then 2 Kais. Like just all the same ratios, all the same staples, like the same 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 spells, and then the same traps. I guess some of them mix it up with like some amount of Dust Tornado or however many oppression. This is on 1 oppression main, 1 on the side, which I think is fine. So yeah, I mean it's Vayu Turbo again. Oh, notably they are on Fortress Dragon as well. I think a couple, like, or maybe even the majority of the Vayu lists that I've seen this week were just not siding Cyber Dragons and not playing Fortress in the extra. I'm not sure the exact reason for that because I feel like you should always just be doing that in pretty much every deck. But what do I know? They've been topping, so yeah, it's first place Vayu list. Next deck is one that we don't often see topping at Edison format events, which is Macro Stun, actually. Now, usually people play like a Monarch version of this list, but these players chose to go all in on just like a full stun variant of the deck. I should note that this deck, weirdly, the exact same list got like second and top 8, so 2 different people were piloting the same list. It's definitely odd because Stun is a deck that historically struggles a lot in Edison format. I don't think the metagame is very favorable to it, but these 2 players were both able to pilot it to a top 8 finish at the event, which maybe lends some credence to their build, which is admittedly very different from most of the DD Survivor macro decks that we see, which, like I mentioned before, they tend to play a lot of Monarchs and other weird stuff that might lead to bricking, although there's definitely some strange choices in here that we could go over really quick. So they're on Gale, Morphing Jar, Grand Mole just having some one-off, limited normal summons, triple Thunder King, double Survivor with only double Iatos. I think it's probably better to cut down on Iatos because that card, like, if even one card goes in your graveyard, all the copies are dead forever because you have no like graveyard interaction whatsoever in the entire deck. They're also on triple Warrior Lady with double Exiled Force and a Rhoda, which is very neat. I think the Exiled Force and the Sakuretsu are maybe just there because their whole game plan is just like protect the macro or the Di-Fi with Dark Bribe and Starlight Road, so they're basically just like additional deprisons or banishing forms of removal if you have your Floodgate on the field. Definitely seems like the game plan is to live and die by having the Floodgate on the field. Triple Road, triple Dark Bribe is a lot, and I mean a lot. Sakuretsu also, I kind of wonder, like, what are the trade-offs between this and Widespread Ruin? No one ever really thinks about it, because, I mean, Sakuretsu and Widespread Ruin are both pretty irrelevant in the Edison meta, but they chose to play Sakuretsu in here, and, I don't know, it's, like, you get to pick the monster that gets destroyed with this, but then also you might struggle without outing Titania a little more or something. I don't really know if one's better than the other. I'm just bringing it up. And then the side, they've got a lot of Frog Hate, like a lot of Frog Hate. Triple Mask of Restrict, double Skill Drain. Also got a Limb and some Zing Zen Ooze, which there was a lot of weird back row hate choices in this event. I think the format has become pretty back row heavy, so a lot of people are bringing in a lot of technology to try to handle that. Also on Shield Crush, which is super wild. I mean, Nobleman is a card that's been seeing some play on the side, but Shield Crush is like I guess it's kind of like Nobleman if you have Di-Fi on the field, though, so maybe that's kind of the thought. Also, siding the Storm, so no Storm in the main. And then 2 Spies. I'm not really sure what that's for. Maybe just for, like, aggro matchups. Try and wall versus Hero Beat and Blackwings. And then Barbaros, presumably for when you bring in the Skill Drain. The extra deck, they're not on Fortress Dragon. I've seen more and more people cutting Fortress Dragon. Is it not just the Vayu players? Is everyone just, like... I mean, okay, I guess the reason in here is pretty clear. It's because if you have Macro or Di-Fi on the field, you actually can't Fortress Dragon. So that seems kind of obvious to me. Yeah, they're on triple Stardust, which you play triple Road, so I can kind of see that. And just a bunch of generic synchros. They do play the Gale main deck, so it is actually possible to make a synchro. There's no Brain or Mind anywhere, so if they didn't play the Gale, it would actually just not be possible for them. But it is, so might as well have all of these various different extra deck monsters. Pretty interesting that this exact list got 2 separate spots in Top Cut. Obviously, there's probably pretty good players, but Stun is not, like, traditionally thought of as a high-tier deck in Edison formats, so this is a very different take on Stun. Maybe something to think about in the future. In 3rd place, we have Synchro Cat, actually. This is very significant because this is, I believe, the only Synchro Cat I've ever seen in a top 8 anywhere. That doesn't mean it hasn't happened before, but it's the only one I've seen and that I can even remember. It looks kind of remarkably similar to some of like the OG builds from way back in 2010. Obviously, it doesn't look like quite like a net deck. There's some differences. So more in on like the Hamster Raikou stuff, I think. On Sork, no Dad, which is and also no Gravekeeper package. Triple Caius, very good. I think Triple Caius is pretty good in like anything you can jam Caius into, honestly. Triple Airbell, Double Cyber Dragon, Gores, the full cat package, and then they're on like every back row sweeper and MST, so just tons of back row hate in here. Double Pot of Avarice, a random main deck Smashing Ground, and then some kind of like standard trap cards. One Oppression main, but the other Oppression isn't in the side, which is neat, I guess. I'm not sure what exactly the thinking behind that could be, but it's interesting that they just full committed to back row hate. I can kind of see it in the current metagame. Just like, I want to have my Cold Wave and my True Nade. I just want to be able to play through their stuff, get off my cat combo, and like win the game or something. They're also on one random main deck Gale. Card's not too bad, but it's a little bit straight. I guess it goes well with Cyber Dragon, but you're not playing the Gravekeeper stuff, so you can't just summon it and make Arcanite or something. Which, yeah, they are playing the Arcanite, of course, to go with the Summoner Monk. So, I mean, pretty standard looking Synchro Cat build. Just kind of surprising that it did so well. I mean, 3rd place, that's pretty good. So, solid performance here for Caesar Picardo. In 4th place, we have Diva Hero. I think people kind of woke back up to the fact that this deck is pretty good. Pretty good. Nothing too crazy going on in this build. They are on the Sarks, which might be in a True Hero inspiration there, but the monster lineup looking pretty standard on Triple Caius, the Divas, the Greffer, the standard 1 Stratos, 2 Prodigy, 2 Mali. They got the Dad, they've got Gores, Plague, Treeborn Frog, Sangan, and then they're also on the Spirit Reaper, which a True Hero was like teching in his Nationals list. In addition to Spirit Reaper, they're playing Tragodia and Snowman Eater, which are 2 cards that I just deeply enjoy and admire, so definitely a fan of those additions. On Allure, Brain, Standard, Future Fusion, Rhoda, the Hero package. I already mentioned the double Sarks. They're playing all the staples. They're playing the triple Miracle Fusions. And then the trap lineup looks pretty minimal. I mean, just playing like the good ones, plus RFDD, plus double Bottomless, which I think I can get behind this trap lineup. I'm not a fan of like the deck dev stuff that a True Hero does. I feel like this is a bit of a tangent, but deck dev, this is like the worst deck dev meta we've had in a while. I've been watching War League games, and I've seen like 5 deck devs just be terrible in a row and lose the game. But as I mentioned, we're going kind of off topic there, so let's get back to the list. Dinah and Vanny's Fiend. Of course, you got to have that frog hate in your side. Speaking of which, they have Soul Exchange, but they also have Soul Release and deck devs. They're on 2 decrees. A True Hero was siding these as well. I guess the theory is you just, like, don't want to lose to Oppression Game 2 and stuff, and there's, like, trap-heavy decks, and you just want to force through your plays. So maybe take out, like, the Bottomlesses and play these or something, depending on the matchup. Also, 1 random Smashing Ground. I'm not really sure what the Smashing and the Solex are supposed to be for. I guess just generic removal. The second Snowman, based. Just 1 Crow, which a True Hero is also just siding 1 Crow, I think. People have cut down on Crow a lot. I'm not really sure. I feel like 2 Crow is kind of where I sit at generally, but a lot of people are playing 1 and 0 these days. And then they're on the Cyber Dragon. No Gaia in the extra. Well, actually, they have this Gaia, though. They have the level 6 Vanilla Synchro, which is kind of neat, because I don't think of Diva Hero as a deck that needs to play extra level 6s. Like, Zombies is pretty much the only one, right? I think you should just play all the 8s, probably. But other than that, I mean, pretty cool list. No pun intended. I love the Trag. I love the Snowman Eater. That's all I got to say about that. Yeah, based. Moving into the rest of the top 8 here, we've got James Ark, of course. You probably have heard of him. Absolute legend. He was playing, looks like, just pure Blackwings, with some interesting choices. Definitely his list looks a bit different than most pure Blackwing lists that are around. He's only on 2 Bora, which some people go 2, some people go 3, I guess, but most people play 3. Triple Blizzard, Gale, of course, normal. Triple Kalute, normal. Also on that 1 Mistral. I think the 1 Mistral is kind of underrated. It's like, there are situations where I think it's decent to grab it off of Shura. It's obviously probably not as good as the Vayu and the Gale, but in most of the time. But I think it's not terrible to just play the 1 Mistral. Triple Shura, triple Sirocco, standard, Dad, standard, Allure, Whirlwinds, Brain, Heavy, MST staples. They're also on main deck Mind Control, which is pretty decent in Blackwings. It's like, sometimes it's okay. You play a lot of tuners, I guess, so you can kind of abuse it. Trap lineup on 0D Prison, which, holy based. I mean, I talk a lot of shit about that card, and I'm just so glad to see James Ark recognizing it for the piece of garbage that it is and cutting it entirely from the list. Instead, just on double Bottomless, triple Icarus, kind of the standard one-off traps. Also on 2 Legacy. Still not sure how I feel about this card in Blackwings. It just seems really slow to me. And, like, not really, I don't really get it. Triple Dust is cool. It seems like these lists are on a ton of back row hate. That's kind of the meta right now. You just need to be able to, like, you need to be able to play the game. It's kind of where it's like, there's all these trap decks that set a bunch, and you just need to be able to, out the back row and summon your dudes and make your game plan work. So, yep. Side deck, Cyber Dragon, Crow, Dinos, all standard. Soul Taker, I guess it makes things miss timing. Pretty good versus Fairies, which can be a rough matchup. Double Compulse, been seeing this a lot. I don't know. I have not a lot extra to say about it. Yeah, this all looks pretty normal. I mean, Mind Crush, Rogue, Oppression, Skill Drain. I guess not all Blackwing decks are siding like the Skill Drain, which pretty good versus like Frogs and stuff. So I think it's like okay. I think Skill Drain's maybe even a bit overrated in Blackwings, because the Blackwings have effects that are, like, important. And a lot of people sort of underestimate that fact. Like, people side out Orange Light versus them, too. And I think that's kind of a mistake as well. Also not on Deck Dev, which kind of based. I mentioned earlier in the video that I feel like Deck Dev is a lot worse. I feel like that card was already overrated in pure Blackwing to begin with. Like, it's so much better in Vayu or in Hybrid. Pure Blackwing does not have a lot of convenient ways of getting Deck Dev live, actually, if you really think about it. So I like that he cut that card entirely, because like I said, it's not a great Deck Dev meta, and then the extra deck is just like, I don't know, completely standard, right? Playing the good 8s, the good 7s, the good Blackwing Synchros, the Vayu guys, just like the good ones. No Armory Arm, I guess. Maybe you should want to play Armory Arm in case you like Mind Control Raikou or something and have a Mistral in your hands. I don't know, it could happen. Continuing with the top 8, we have Paul Rodriguez with his Gemini list. Pretty interesting to see this deck actually doing well, getting a top spot at an event. So the list, see, the monster lineup's pretty standard. I really like people playing Brand Mole. I think this card is crazy with Ultimate Offering. People really need to get on that sauce. On double Blazewing, double Valkyria with one Evocator, I think that's normal. I don't know. I'm not an expert on this deck. The plant lineup, normal on one Toon Magician. Yeah, everything in terms of the Geminis looks pretty standard. Future Fusion, Triple Spark, heavy. No Typhoon in here? That's weird. But there's a Dust Tornado. Okay, that's just wrong, right? I mean, that's just scientifically incorrect to main one Dust Tornado over Mystical Space Typhoon. Isn't Typhoon's just strictly better, right? I guess you can't use the trick where you set something in your butt. No. Typhoon's better. Typhoon's better. Triple Supervise. They're on 3 Upstart with 3 Legacy, just trying to draw their combos pieces. I very much like that choice. Also in 1 main deck Iron Wall, which is pretty cool. Shuts off like Deep Prison and Bottomless, which should maybe be problems for you. There are a lot of forms of disruption that can be like very annoying for the Gemini deck. Of course, on the one-off traps with the Call, the Torrential Mirror, Judgment, Road on double Ultimate Offering. That's like the best card. Only 2 Reinforced Truth. Don't they normally play 3 of this with 2 Soldier, or even 3 of this with 3 Soldier? I actually don't know. I think it's 3 with 2 Soldier, but maybe that's changed since I've looked at the deck. Also, 1 main deck Rug. Super weird. I've been seeing this every now and then of people just like main decking Rug because they feel like it's a good Rug meta, and it is, but you're still main decking Rug. Like, I don't know. I'm not sure how I feel about that one, but hey, it's a choice. It worked out. You know, it can be decent. So yeah. The side, they have the other Iron Wall, also Prohibition. I think I talked about this card the other day. It's very good versus Hero Beat and Frogs. They have My Bodies, they have Cyber Dragons, they have Dynas, pretty normal. Also on Limb, I guess just for Fairies and Lightsworn stuff. On 7 tools with 1 Shadow Imp and another Starlight Road. I like having the second Starlight Road there. I think there's some... Starlight Road is just a very solid side deck card. Yeah, I mean, extra deck standard on the triple Blackbird Drago. They're on the Raptinus and some other synchros, which I don't think you generally make, but you can make them with like Toon Magician and Nettles. So this deck's pretty cool. It's like one of those crazy sort of combo decks where you can just like have unfair hands and go off, and it's nuts and it's cool. So I'm a fan of the Gemini deck for sure. Love to see it. I think this is the first time I've seen it in a top cut, so very happy to see it perform. Alright, we've also got here a Wella Dad list that made top 8. This is a cool deck. I think it's pretty underrated. I should have put this in my underrated video, actually. I feel like Wella Dad is kind of slept on. Maybe it's slept on for legitimate reasons, because Diva Zombie's kind of just probably better. But I still think it's like a solid like tier 2 strategy at worst. But yeah, we have seen Wella Dad top before, and it's grabbing another top spot here. Some interesting choices in this deck. They're on 41 cards. The trap lineup is a little bit non-standard, maybe. I don't know how many Phoenix Wings they normally play, or if they play that at all. The Deep Prison main, I don't know. I would just like cut this and go to 40, honestly. 1 Caius. I really hate 1 Caius. It might be the right ratio, but I've said before that 1 Caius is a ratio that just hurts my brain to look at, so that's kind of where I stand on that. Only on 1 Armonite with 2 Grepher. I think the normal build plays 2 and 2. I could be wrong. There's also no tomatoes whatsoever in here. No battle recruiters at all. Just playing the zombie package with the Sangan. Sangan almost has to be wrong with no tomatoes. I think that card is kind of overrated. Very slow. Yeah, I just don't really see what it does for you in here. Also, they have a Bubble Man, which is kind of wild. I guess it enables them to play Future Fusion, and you can like search it, special it, maybe do some combo plays with Krebons. Okay, I can see playing the Bubble Man. Just have like, because the normal build just plays Stratos plus double Maui, and that just feels like super minimal in terms of the hero package. You always think like, maybe I should have one more guy in here, and then that also enables you to play Future Fusion, so you can send like Bubble Man plus Maui for Ab-Zero, or you can send like Stratos plus Mizuki for Gaia. So I do like that choice a lot. And then the spell lineup, of course, you just have all these crazy power cards that let you combo and do nuts plays. Yeah, you can definitely see why this deck can be terrifying. I mean, just like Teleport, Wells, Future Fusion, Burial from the Different Dimension. This deck can just go off for sure. With Dark Armed and Return, there's just so many broken limited cards that will just kill you in this deck. Side deck on Master Restrict and Skill Drain. I feel like I'm just not liking these skill drains in the side of these decks. Like, unless you're playing Hero, I don't know. There's so many important effect monsters and stuff. Maybe you just, like, hate frogs that much. I can see it, but... and there's not even that many decks that skill drain is good against. Or at least, there's not many decks where it's, like, better against those decks than this deck by a substantial amount, so... I don't know. Vortex, Dyna, Crows, Sidra, all standard. They're also on the bottomless on the side for Blackwings. I think that's a pretty good choice. Should maybe even main this card. I would definitely main bottomless over Deep Prison. I think bottomless is a lot better than Deep Prison. Trap Stuns? That's a pretty neat decision in terms of spell trap hate. I don't think we've seen those yet. So they're kind of like a worse... Well, not really a worse Cold Wave. They're like a... Well, they are kind of worse than Cold Wave, but like not strictly worse than Cold Wave. You know what I'm talking about? Because this deck needs its spell traps to combo, so it's maybe they're kind of worse than Giant Trunade though. Yeah, I mean I think they're pretty much worse than Giant Trunade, because you're just gonna kill them with Wella Dad. You know what I'm saying? So probably should just play the proactive superior sweeper. Also one Compulse, which Compulse is everywhere these days. I don't know. I guess it's just become a ubiquitous side deck tech, and then the extra is super packed, as you can imagine, because this deck needs like all the 6s and all the 8s, and you have the Future Fusion for Gaia and Ab-Zero, and you still need to fit Fortress in, and then there's a whole bunch of other generic synchros that you of course have to have in terms of the extra deck toolbox. So man, that extra deck has got to be packed. Was probably were some difficult decisions made there, but yeah. Wella Dad, cool deck, nice to see it top. As always, be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Furthermore, if you enjoy my content, you should think about becoming a channel member. You get access to tons of bonus content, and it's a great way to help support the channel.